Fenestration, we'll look through this. Fenestrations of windows, National Fenestration Council, I'm sure you're all aware of the label. You find them on all of your windows. The four major areas: U-value, solar heat gain coefficient, U-value again being, the window's ability to retard the flow of heat. Window-to-wall ratio and orientation all have a profound effect on how the house performs and how it's going to score on the HERS index. For U-values, if you're using the performance requirement of using an Energy Star window, it has to be 0.35 or less, at least in the Northeast. What that translates into is roughly an R3. When we talk about framing factors, you had wood accounting for 20-25% of that wall assembly. Occasionally you have windows, big voids in the thermal shell, and you're going from an R13, R19, some walls that we see R42, to all of a sudden you're going to R3. That's a profound change. So if you could specify a higher U-value on your windows, you'll pay a little bit more, you charge a little bit more for the house. You use a little bit less window area. You could get up to today probably a lot of stuff coming in from Canada, a lot of research being done in this country, getting down to a U-value of about 0.2, which is equivalent to an R value of 5. Solar heat gain coefficients, any value is acceptable in the Energy Star program in the Northeast. You'll find values, I don't think you'll find them at 0, but you'll find them from 0 to 1. The smaller number reduces the solar heat gain. These windows have been pulled down now because if we open them, Mary Lou's going to be blind, I'll be blind, and we can't see, and the room starts heating up. Unless you have, unless you have a small solar heat gain number, which will inhibit the sun's radiant heat from coming into the room. But if you wanted to take advantage of that, if you had a sun space, south-facing glass, and you went with a much higher window or a higher number, you could actually allow more of that sun in. It's going to be a bear in the summertime unless you have exterior shading. But this is something that will increase your HERS score. If you play with these numbers, you can, given the right area, the north-facing, you want as high a value as possible, south-facing low as possible for a typical home. Window-to-wall ratios, typically you find homes at about 18%. That's what you find at baseline in code. Then you start jumping around as you move up in either the IRC or the Energy Star Homes program. Homes with more glass have less insulation value. So choose the location of the glass, choose the quantity of glass carefully. Do you need huge picture windows, in every room that are facing north? If you can build a house and not doing that, you're going to help your HERS score, you're going to help the energy performance of the home, which just basically comes down to orientation. North-facing glass, why is north-facing glass, why do you want to minimize that? Anyone want to venture a guess? And I'll let you answer this time, Dan. You don't like that. There's no sun, there's no direct solar heat gain. All you get is reflective light or daylight coming into the house. East-facing glass, your rooms in an east-facing window are going to be very, very hot, especially in the summer. In the morning time, sun rises in the east, and then in the west, at the afternoon, you're going to get a very, very hot room. So again, you should take a look at how much glass is in these areas. If you can reduce it, if you can change either the values, the U values or the solar heat gain values, or even exterior shading features, large overhangs, awnings, something along those lines. But you should be aware that as you start changing the home's orientation, and we see this a lot in the program when we're doing large developments, the same house over and over again, but it's on a large lot. So the first house we do, they have the front's facing south, it's colonial, it has all sorts of glass, and it's got a higher cooling load than it does a heating load compared to the house behind it, which is the exact same house, only now the front of the house is facing north. So you have all of this heat loss occurring in the winter and none of the heat gain from the sun occurring in the summer. So you will find that if you're building the same house over and over again in the same complex, and you're changing the orientation, you're going to get different HERS scores, you're going to get different energy loads, you're going to get different performance out of each of these homes. So you should be aware of those things. Mechanical equipment, getting to 85 furnaces and boilers, code probably somewhere around 80, the low 80s. Industry standards today, you probably find the efficiency ratings of these units, the AFUE, the annual fuel utilization efficiency rating, approaching the high 90s. You know, above 90 is not uncommon. You can get furnaces up to 96, boilers along the same way. That's a 16% increase. Imagine what that's going to do to the performance of the home. If you were to build, I don't think Mike's here now, but I had this discussion with Mike Berry yesterday, and it's the same discussion I've had for years. If you were to build a code-built home, really follow code, and then put in high-efficiency equipment, you're probably at Energy Star to begin with. But you're not going to find a code official coming out testing for the duct leakage. You're not going to find a code official who can advise you on the proper installation and alignment of your insulation. So rely on someone else, rely on a HERS rater, and you can get there pretty easily. The nice thing about the mechanical efficiencies, by upgrading them, either with heating or cooling, if you are participating in the Energy Star Homes program, it means that you're in an owner-invested utility service territory, whether that's NGrid, NSTAR, any of the gas companies.